I believe last name is I don't know how to say his last name. Can you say it, Frank? I'll let you say it. How do you say your last name, Rich?
Monteleone.
Monteleone. I should know that from my heritage.
You're from Teaneck, New Jersey, huh?
Well, I was born and raised in Teaneck, New Jersey, but I live in Wanacue.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so you're right around the corner.
Frank grew up in Woodcliff Lake.
Yeah, he lives right on Skyline Drive. Oh, actually, not too far away.
Okay, well, I'm right near Skyline Drive. I live off of Conklin Town.
Yeah, I mean, there's not many more streets off of, any other road to be off of if you live in the Wanacue area or around that area. By the way, how low is the reservoir now? I haven't been through there in a while.
It's pretty low.
Yeah.
It's been drained quite a bit, so it's pretty low. But maybe today with this rain, it may fill up again.
Yeah, I doubt it. We need like a monsoon.
I don't think so.
To do that. All right, so we're talking about what happened to you on July the 4th, 1966. So what were you, like 17 years old back then, or 18?
18. I was 18 years old, and I received a letter, from the from the government that I'm drafted and to report for duty. And I had to report the next day because July 4th, of course, is a holiday. So on July 5th, I reported to Banter Place in Hackensack and went to Fort Dixon, New Jersey, and went through basic training.
Were you you were not in college, or what were you?
No.
So
I just had finished high school.
Did you decide you were not going to college?
At that point, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so I was just taking it easy after high school. I was working. I had a job, and I was just hanging out, really.
It's interesting, yeah, because I'm a couple of years younger than you. Not many. I had to go to the same place to register in Hackensack. Probably about 5 years after you did. But they were taking people. Did you have to fill a form out? Were there college deferments back then, or no?
Yes, there were, but I didn't go to college. I wasn't going to school, so I wasn't able to do that.
All right, so they knew you from there. All right, so literally. And you got this notice on July 4th.
That's right.
How did you get a notice on the day they don't deliver mail? What they do, hand it to you?
Oh, no, it came in the mail, and it said it was before July 4th, and I'm drafted on the 4th of July, but the report on the 5th. It's just crazy. Who knows?
Wow. So where were you in Nam?
I was in Cu-Chi, the 25th Infantry Division. My unit was the 4th of the 23rd, Company C. We were called the Tomahawks. So we were an infantry unit.
So I have a lot of friends that were in Nam. One of them, Tony Casamano, flew the Huey for a year. He was shot down 3 times.
Oh my God! Yeah. Well, I've seen Huey shot down.
Yeah.
We were mechanized infantry, so we had armored personnel carriers. But there were many times that I was loaded into a chopper and flown out to an area where they were being, where they needed help, and dropped right into it.
Yeah.
And how long were you there?
1 full year. I got there on January 8th, and I left on I got there on January 9th, left on January 8th the following year.
Yeah, you don't forget those dates.
And obviously PTSD and all that from there, which we really didn't know what that was, back in the day when you came back out.
What happened when you did come back?
Yeah, what happened when you came back?
Okay, well, first of all, that's why I wrote the book, because I'm 100% disabled with PTSD, and that's why I wrote the book, Less Than a Hero, A Fight for Life, to help not only other veterans, but to help myself. And when I came back, I was, doing drugs and alcohol and trying to forget and disappear in my head of what I went through, in Vietnam. Nobody wants to kill anybody,
right?
We are not.
We're not. Yeah, we're not raised to kill people. That is not a normal thing.
No. My parents came from Italy, and they treated me. I was kept in a bubble most of my childhood. They protected me so much, even though we had a beautiful little area in Teaneck. We lived in a nice home and everything. My father was in work for the Penn Central Railroad, and we had a nice life. But Vietnam is a whole different world, and PTSD is horrible.
And I work with numerous veterans, a lot from Vietnam as well. There's a lot of information out there, a lot of people helping now. So it's really important. As a young man, actually, that has PTSD, who's been on the air with us also, Alexander Stewart, Frank, if you recall, great young man. And he's working very hard with veterans, too. He's written books and does speaking engagements. The wonderful thing now is that people are talking about it. It's not in the closet anymore.
You're absolutely correct. And I do help veterans. I work with veterans. I've gotten a lot of veterans to 100% disability with my program that works, because you need to know what to tell the government. They want to know the truth, and they want to know everything. And if you don't tell it the way they want to see it, you're not going to get your disability.
100% correct. I remember that from a form I had to fill out for an organization I was putting together. And the woman I got to help me used to work for the government. So she said, check those boxes. Don't even read the questions. I'll tell you what box to check. As long as you do that.
And most importantly, I will accept nothing for helping someone. I will never accept anything from a veteran who's struggling. Not in a million years. Except my book.
Yeah.
Of course, I want to sell my book.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
the money from my book, a percentage of the money goes to homeless veterans using Tunnels to Towers for our donations.
Yeah, we just did a huge benefit for Tunnels to Towers. We do it all the time here. And I know our county executive is also a commander in the U.S. Navy Reserves, and he was just at their huge event recently. So, yeah, we're very involved with that.
Well, see,
beautiful organization.
Yeah,
beautiful.
It really is. Now, I was lucky enough to be that little bit younger than you, and they started the draft, and, it just then it became the volunteer, services after that. For those of us that don't have PTSD or really don't have an understanding of it, obviously the experience there was horrible. I would assume shooting people, probably fearing for your life every day, probably the environment and everything else. What when you come back with the PTSD, is it all part of it, or is it like one more than another?
Okay, well, the most important thing is you don't know you have PTSD. It's something that you start getting sick and things happen to you and feelings that you don't even understand, because no one really got into PTSD in 1967 or 68. It wasn't known exactly what it was. And I went into the hospital for all kinds of tests trying to figure out why I was so messed up. And yet I started a business and was successful in my business, even though I went through all of this. And, heart palpitations that won't stop, just crazy things. And one day I was walking through Newark, and I stopped in the Marine place to talk to somebody. And they told me, I walked through the door, and he looked at me and says, "You have PTSD."
Really?
Because I was so crazy, my mind, my eyes, my hair, and I was nuts. And that's when I found out what it is.
How did this affect your family? Because you were married. How soon after you came back did you get married?
I got married in 1974. I have 3 kids. All 3 of my children are successful people. They did very well, because being a parent doesn't have anything to do with PTSD. I didn't allow that to discourage my family.
That's pretty strong, actually. I can't believe you're able to do that, because normally that's usually MO. I mean, it interferes with everything. That you were able to do that, that's strength, and being able to divide
Because I had a seriously strong wife.
Huh? That's really... How did you meet your wife?
We met in a bar in Bogota.
The old-fashioned way.
When I was, called Ari Plum, and she was sitting there with her friend. Her friend, by the way, is my partner in the book. They've been friends that long, and she was sitting there eating either French fries or potato chips, and I noticed that she was such a beautiful woman, so I went over and took a French fry. And
of course.
And then we soon after that we started dating, and a couple of years later we got married. We're married now 51 years.
Oh, God bless.
That's great.
That's
I
fabulous.
have 7 grandchildren, and one of them is a great-grandchild.
Oh my God, that's fabulous. What a great tribute to you. And to all those people that served to do the book.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Well, and speaking of that too, the buddies that you had there when you were serving, did you keep in touch with them? And I'm sure a lot of them had difficulties too when they came out.
I definitely was in touch with who I could, but most of them are gone now. I lost my best friend, Cheryl, which you guys have to read the book. It's important you read the book, because it'll teach you about a PTSD. I was in the tunnels of Coochie, and I was on many, many ambushes, in the middle of the night, in the middle of nowhere. People don't realize that Vietnam had all kinds of animals, elephants, tigers, all kinds of things you had to deal with, snakes, insects. You have to deal with all of this and fight at the same time. It's just incredible. And then you're fighting all day, And then at night you have to go in an ambush, so you're not getting much sleep. So, it's a rough situation to go through, and you have to be lucky, and you need help. So I think I had a guardian angel watching over me.
Oh, for
because
sure.
I'm still here.
And this goes on for a whole year, can you imagine?
Yeah, I knew a gentleman who was a captain and served 3 tours there, his brother also. And he came over to my son and wanted to do a report on Vietnam. And I remember at one point he had said to me, should I tell him everything? I said, well, use your discretion. He's not a baby, but he's certainly not an adult. So my son had asked him, what about snipers? And he said, yeah, we had snipers. And he started explaining what it was. And my son said, well, when did you, stop, using one person for another to be a sniper? He said, this is what gave me chills. He said, when they started to enjoy it.
Well, the thing is that Viet Cong had snipers also, and so did the North Vietnamese. And a couple of times, they caught my men right when I was talking. All I saw was the blood dripping down his head, and he just keeled over. Oh. And so they had snipers too.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
My book tells it all, and it took me 3 years to write the book, and there were many nights that I stopped writing and collapsed at remembering. And I get very emotional when I start to remember all of that stuff. It's very difficult, but if you don't put it down on paper, you can't get it out of your head. And once you get it out of your head, life becomes a lot better and a lot easier. Right now I'm in Pennsylvania in my RV with my wife. We're out here. We brought our camper out because we have to winterize it because we have to put it away until the beginning of January when we take it to Florida, and we stay in Florida for the winter and then come home again. Oh. So we're in Pennsylvania camping right now, and it's pouring like crazy.
It's
like
cold,
where you are.
too.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. Well, when you look back on all the different conflicts that this country's been through, the Vietnam one was so uniquely horrible in the fact that we didn't even know who we were fighting. We didn't know what was there.
Oh, of course.
It was the craziest thing in the world. It left my generation, like I said, a couple of years younger than you, not wanting to serve for our country because we had heard of the horrors of what this was all about. And, we saw the people coming back and we saw the response from everybody. Did you get a negative response when you came back from the war at that time, or was it just...
Absolutely.
Really?
When I made the mistake of wearing my uniform, I came back on a regular air jet. We came from Vietnam, and I landed in California and then switched to another plane to come to Newark. When I got off in Newark, things were different in those days. You got off on the tarmac. You didn't have those places where you walk where you're inside. You're outside, and I actually got spit on.
Oh my God.
And that's a serious thing. And I didn't know what to do. I wasn't going to attack somebody because I already was a maniac at that point, and I wasn't going to go to jail. That's for sure. So I just went on my way. But we got yelled at. We got screamed. I've been called a baby killer in a bar when I walked in and started talking to somebody about Vietnam. And they call you baby killers. And when you think about it, you can't help whatever happens because you're fighting and you don't know what's going to happen. You're trying to stay alive.
That's it.
I'd like to take all those people and put them in that situation and tell me how they would react.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
We do an event in Orange County every year called Welcome Home, and it started with an organization in Highland Falls. And what we do every year is the county executive comes and the sheriff, their fathers both served in Vietnam, and we welcome home all the Vietnam vets.
Well, that's a beautiful thing. That's really a nice thing.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of things, to sell the book, to help veterans. We selling the book is important because that's where the money comes from that I can donate.
Right.
And this coming weekend, the 8th and the 9th, we'll be in Pennsylvania at a winery called Blue Mountain Winery, where they're doing a special event for veterans where everything is 25% off the price of food and drink and everything, and we'll be selling our book there. We'll be there for 2 days.
What
and
town?
That's in Nutripoli.
How do you spell
in what state is that?
Pennsylvania.
It's Pennsylvania. It's called Nutripoli.
How do you spell it?
Like Tripoli, only it's pronounced Tripoli.
Oh, okay.
Is the ski area there Blue Mountain or no?
Yeah, well, it's in a place. It's called Blue Mountain Winery. I mean,
okay.
It's certainly not blue. There's all the leaves have changed and everything. But it's a beautiful winery, and they care a tremendous amount about veterans. And, they always have discounts for veterans, but 25% on everything for the weekend.
That's great.
Now, to add insult to injury on top of everything else, Agent Orange, What kind of effects has that had on your life since you came out?
And here's the funniest part about that. Friends of mine died from Agent Orange because we call it triple play: heart, cancer, and diabetes. That's what you get from that, and many kinds of cancer, not just one. And I was with all of these people, and I was in Kuchi, where they dropped all the Agent Orange and destroyed the entire jungle so they could find all the holes where the tunnels were, because Kuchi was built on 200 miles of tunnels. They didn't know it when they came there by ship, and they built this beautiful base camp, huge base camp, right over the tunnel complex. So a lot of my friends died already from that, and for some reason, I don't have any effects of Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Well, that is great, because I know I lost a cousin who was a colonel in the Air Force who battled that all his life. Once you get that, it's kind of like you're in and out.
Well, the one I knew
and that eventually took him out.
died when he was
That's right.
30 years old.
Yeah.
From Agent Orange.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing stuff.
It's a horror. It's a horror, and you can't do anything about it because it's three things. It's not just one.
Wow.
Everything just attacks you.
So you still have, obviously, PTSD today. How is that treated, or what do you do to, lighten that up?
Okay. Well, I've been 100% for 20 years. I've been disabled pretty much since I got out of the Army, but never anything like, 100%. And I have, there's a place called the Vet Center, which is run by the VA, but the information, it's a place to go for therapy. There are therapists that help you. Some of them are actual combat veterans that went to college and became psychologists. And I've been going to that for the last 17 years, and that's what's helped me today, because we talk about everything, and they're always making sure I'm okay. Like when I'm here, I'm in Pennsylvania, my therapist called me on Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock because that's my appointment, and I'm not there. So he calls me here to make sure I'm okay, calls me in Florida. We talk every 2 weeks on a Tuesday. Either I go there, and it's in Oakland, but it's from Bloomfield, New Jersey, but Oakland is a place to go also.
Yeah, Oakland, we have two Marines that come on, or they were Marines in the service in Vietnam. Do you remember the number of the Legion?
Detachment, 744 maybe or something?
Yeah, they're in Oakland. What great guys.
Yeah, that's where we go. That's exactly where the therapy is.
Do you know Ed Couric and Mike McNulty?
Well, I'll tell you what. Eddie is not only a neighbor, lives only about 3 or 4 blocks away from me. He's in Ringwood, and I'm in Wanacue.
Oh, my
but
God,
Eddie,
what a small world.
I met Eddie when both of us got fired from our jobs, and we were in the unemployment office sitting next to each other, and I met him there.
What a small world.
I helped him get his disability. I helped him, and
my gosh.
He helps everybody.
I know.
He's a great, wonderful man.
He really is. And Mike McNulty also. They're wonderful. They come on the air
They are.
periodically.
I know him too. Yep.
Yeah,
they're great people.
They really are. And we promote their breakfast that they do every month too, when they put the breakfast on.
And I've been to that breakfast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what a small world it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Well, those are important people.
Absolutely.
I got the first person in Ringwood to get to 100%. I helped him get there.
That's
and
wonderful.
Then Eddie, of course, I did him. We worked together a long time ago, but we work together. Whenever I don't know something, I'll call him, and when he don't know something, he'll call me.
That's great.
So we can help people, because that's what we do. And we won't take a nickel. I don't care. Lawyers take 20% of your money. I would give you money before I would take it.
I know, that's it. Well, listen, tell them where they can find the book. Most important, where do they?
And the name of the book too.
Yeah.
Okay, the name of the book is Less Than a Hero, A Fight for Life. And the front page of the book is a picture of me when I was 19 years old. There's 20 pages of pictures in the book that I took with my camera in Vietnam. I had a camera that I bought at the PX. And at the back of the book, there's a website that you can contact me, and if you need help, I can get you help, because I have a formula that works to help veterans, as long as they have the answers to these questions. They have to be real answers, because the government's going to investigate it.
Sure.
And it can be bought on Amazon. All you have to do is go to Amazon and look for Less Than a Hero, and you can order it, and it gets delivered directly to your house. It's $19.95.
And do you have a website yourself?
I do.
And
I have a website called Less Than a Hero, A Fight for Life. You can go online and find that website.
All right. Well, listen, continued great success with the book. So excited for you. And let's keep in touch, and maybe Eddie can bring you on next time he comes on.
You got it. And my wife is yelling out in the background, lessthanahero.com.
Okay, less than a hero. That's why she's there, to remind you.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Lessthanahero.com. Thanks so much, and thank you for your service. Really, I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you for the conversation. I also enjoyed it and feel spectacular right now.
Oh, I'm glad to
Great.
hear that.
Good
That's
stuff.
great. That makes me feel good. All right, you have fun there in Pennsylvania. Stay dry.
Okie dokie. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.